Hey, second episode. Little technical difficulties earlier. I tried to record this once already. There we go. I just paused and unpaused just to make sure it works because when I had been, trying to pause, it would stop the recording and that would be very frustrating if I had to endure any more of that. But we're good. I'm going to be talking about my favorite album of all time and how it correlates to synonymousness with yours truly, right? So I go by the social handle Celestine of the Stars on most things. It's no secret. Mellon Collie, Infinite Sadness, profile picture. It's kind of the tip off that it's me. There's no like mistaking it for being me. The good old EB here, right? So before I moved to where I currently live, I used to walk to school and I used to be a really big Weezer fan. I'm so very glad that's over because that is really embarrassing. I really like Pinkerton, but I think Songs from the Black Hole is probably like I wish that would have got made into its own thing or put together because Songs from the Black Hole. I think the first half of Pinkerton is way better than the second half. Okay, that aside. So I'd gotten into Billy Cobb because I love Billy Cobb. If I don't know how or why, but if Billy Corgan or not Billy Corgan, well, yeah, if Billy Corgan were to stumble across this, that would be marvelous to me. But Billy Cobb, he is one of my favorite musicians on the planet. He's, Smashing Pumpkins aside, he is probably like my favorite musician to ever grace the planet. I think the man is a fucking genius, and I admire Billy Cobb for what he is. I have a Wikipedia project going on to write a Wikipedia article about Mr. Cobb, and I hope it gets published because the man is important, and his music is important, and his ideas are important, and I hope that he someday gets the recognition he deserves. Not that any recognition could ever be enough recognition for the man that Billy Cobb is. That aside, this was when uh, Zerwi came out, right? And that was my introduction. And oh man, I had no idea what would be in store. There is so much greatness that has come out that I'm so fond of all the years. And I mean, it was like a good year before I even listened to Strokes of Incarceration. And that album is fucking phenomenal. I cannot wait to go to college and then like reflect on Strokes of Incarceration and be like, man, these banners do fucking mark the sidewalks like I'm in Nazi Germany, right? And like just the experience because I have friends that are in college. I'm kind of a late bloomer in a lot of aspects, but we're that topic for a different video. But it is like, man, it's such an eye-opening album, and to not even go to college yet and just to hear about it, it's astonishing. But I used to listen to a lot of Panic at the Disco. I mentioned this in my previous little spiele, and man, I listened to a lot of Panic at the Disco. Live in Chicago is still my favorite live album of all time. I love, love, love Live in Chicago. If they made Live in Denver into a album, I would probably never stop listening to it because man, that performance introduced me to a lot of things. My two favorite groups, Billy Cobb aside, because he's not in a group. My two favorite groups, Radiohead and the Smashing Pumpkins, were both discovered through that concert, that Live in Denver, Tonight, and Radiohead. I always thought Radiohead was the electronic, or not the electronic. I don't know. I really don't know how to phrase it, but I wish I could convey it because it makes so much sense in my head, the correlation and my admiration for both of the bands and both of their lead singers and everything that their music stands for. I wish I could equate it the way I want to because it makes so much sense in my head, but Tonight and Karma Police. I am not really a fan of the Tonight cover. It's not as grandiose as Corgan had wrote it. But that being aside, I do still really like that performance in whole. I had actually started listening to Radiohead a little bit before because my father and I had gotten into an argument about, Radiohead, right, being more popular than Panic at the Disco, and I had initially stated that the cover of Karma Police on during that concert is, I thought it was a better version than the original. I no longer hold that fucking backwards ass opinion. Brendan Urie and Ryan Ross are not even half the musicians that Radiohead are. I would like to formally apologize to the Radiohead community for my backwards ass thinking. I was but a boy. And, I never liked Billy Corgan's voice at first. Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird to think about it now, now that I'm older. And, now that I'm older, thinking about it, and how much I don't care about vocals, going from listening to a superb vocalist like Brendan Urie, because he really is. I think Brendan Urie is the most vocally talented vocalist to ever grace the planet, and I will probably always hold this opinion. I never really cared much for Axl Rose. Not a slight against him, but I recently listened to Guns N' Roses' "Appetite for Destruction" "Use Your Illusion," and I'm like, shit, this is not even cracking the surface, because when you listen to those live performances of Guns N' Roses tunes, holy shit, it's crazy. And yeah, so Brendan Urie, right? Care about vocals a lot. I think vocals are important. And then, something clicked at me, right? I see this beautiful artwork. I love the original Mellon Collie and the Infinite. Excuse me. I love the original Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness artwork. I think it's, I think it's gorgeous. It's my favorite artwork of all time. Like my favorite piece of art too. So like, if I'm talking just paintings, it's probably Tsarevich Eisen, or not Tsarevich Eisen, um, Tsar Ivan the Terrible and his son Ivan, right? It talks about like Ivan the Terrible killing his son, right? But if we're talking about all pieces of art ever, I have a flag and an album like mural thing of Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness hanging in my room. It's my profile picture. It's synonymous with yours truly. You know, um, kind of who I am, right? So yeah, I started listening tonight, and I mean, I heard those strings and I was hooked. So I mean, that was my real introduction to the Smashing Pumpkins, and it kind of just fell in from there. I didn't listen to Mellon Collie in its whole, right? Until very late into my listening experience, because I didn't even know what a double album was. I had no concept. I was very new into really listening to music. I mean, when I was younger, the first ever CD I got was Imagine Dragons' Night Visions Deluxe. Thank God I got the Deluxe, because the Deluxe has a lot of really good shit to offer. Imagine Dragons, their early music is something I will defend tooth and nail. Like their first four albums. I like Evolve, a lot of people don't. I like Smoke and Mirrors. Hell, I even like Origins, right? And I think during that span, their singles were really good too. And I used to listen to I used to play a lot of NBA 2K, and when 2K17 will forever be in my heart, because they had Imagine Dragons curate one of the pieces of the soundscape, and oh my god, dude, I still remember just loading up that Paul George loading screen back when he was on the Pacers. PG-13, baby, the fucking dagger. The man, the myth, the legend, PG-13. And that long ass load screen, you hear it in the background. Din, din, dun, 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 dun. You hear that Wings. You hear Wings, and it's just that instrumental. It's nowhere to be found on Spotify. So I mean, if you know that, man, I know those Imagine Dragons deep cuts, bro. I've listened to the EPs. I listened to the EPs before they were on Spotify. I listened to the EPs back in 2015, I want to say, for the first time. So, and I'd listened to Hell in Silence before, right? Before the Radioactive music video had even come out. I had heard these. I had heard Radioactive on Hell in Silence. And then I got that CD, and they were my favorite band for a really long time. And I love Imagine Dragons. I have a signed ID Evolve poster. I have 2017 tour shirt. I love me some ID. I love me some Imagine Dragons. I love their older music, and I am, I don't think they deserve nearly the hate they get, especially because Dan and Mac Reynolds, all the members of the band, but Dan and Mac Reynolds, two gentlemen who I had this wonderful experience. They sent me, this signed band poster. They're sweethearts, right? Love Dan and Mac Reynolds, right? So yeah, I had a very deep love for Imagine Dragons, and that kind of fizzled out because something happened. I'll probably talk about that in a future episode. It was nothing negative with the band. I just got sick at the concert that I was supposed to attend for. I got through K Flay's set, and K Flay's set was phenomenal. Her song "Blood in the Cut" was also on the NBA 2K17 soundtrack, dude. Man, that song has such a killer bass line, and yeah, I loved her set, but we had to leave early. Sitting in a Buffalo, hotel late at night. Man, it was a sad experience. I would later return. I would later return to KeyBank Center to watch Panic at the Disco play. The only real big arena band I've ever seen in concert thus far. I do want to see Third Eye Blind, and I do want to see Coheed with Primus. But we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I mean, I would later return, and that the anxiety was there. But man, once I can't remember if 2 Feet or Betty Who was on first, but they were both. I really admired both of their sets. And Betty Who, she is a mountain of a woman, and she's really fucking tall. She's taller than Brendan Urie by like 4 or 5 inches. The Brendan Urie's short as fuck. I got to touch his golden jacket during the Death Walk. If you know, you know, right? So yeah, I mean, that was really awesome. I was all about Brendan Urie for such a long time, and I thought, I still love Panic at the Disco. I listened to A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. I like the 6 albums they put out while I was like actively listening to them. I like Pray for the Wicked. People shit on Pray for the Wicked, but nothing could ever turn me off that album. That album is actually responsible for the first YouTube video I ever got over 100 views on, and it was shit. I want to say King of the Clouds came out, and I made a good old reaction style video, and man, just thinking back on it, my little teenage girl voice that I still have to this day. It's such a fond thing to think about, because I got like 250 some views, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm the king of the world. But like, I uploaded that ringtone video, and that Brendan Urie ringtone video, and just wow, man, that was so long ago. And I mean, like, I have music that's breaking thousands of views, and it's just so crazy to me, like, just how things change, how the dynamics change between, like, how I view things now. But yeah, before Panic at the Disco, I listened to Linkin Park after, my Imagine Dragons thing fizzled out because of all the sickness and whatnot. That was really awesome of them, though. After my mom reached out to Mac Reynolds, and he got me hooked up there. That's really awesome of Mac Reynolds. Shout out to my man Mac Reynolds. And so yeah, I listened to Linkin Park for a bit. I later came to appreciate, and the whole man, what got me off of Linkin Park, and it wasn't a slight against Linkin Park, but it was Chester Bennington's suicide. It was around that time, and oh man, that was horrible. That was one of those things that struck me. And then, I didn't really listen to Soundgarden, so I mean, I had heard of Chris Cornell, but later on, it hit me. Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, Kurt Cobain. It was a depressing time for me. Back listening to Nutshell a lot, but yeah, after Panic at the Disco naturally came along Weezer. That was a good 2 year phase, and it was yeah, it was a good mesh. It was a good mesh. I slowly transitioned. I just slowly matured in my taste from Panic at the Disco to Weezer. I found out they toured together, dude. I would have fucking loved to see Panic and Weezer together, even if Weezer plays all their shitty new stuff. Um, Weezer fans will stumble across my videos and fucking point out OK Human or whatever. I don't really care. I think their first two albums are like pretty good. Everything will be all right in the end. It's a good one too. The Red Album. I do like the Red Album. It's hard for me to say because I don't dislike really any Weezer album that I've listened to. I don't even really dislike Gratitude all that much. I think In the Mall, Tripping Down the Freeway. I fucking love Can't Stop Partying. Are you shitting me? What's up, bitches? It's Weezer and it's Wheezy, dude. It's great. I'm Your Daddy, dude. But yeah, In the Mall and Tripping Down the Freeway. And I used to be in this band. What it was called? Fuck if I know. But there's this guy named Ollie, and he's got his own music. And yeah, we wanted to cover Dope Nose, and yeah, man, I still think very fondly about that. That was my first ever like attempt at a group project with other musicians, aside from my stuff with Jacob. Yeah, but yeah, Weezer. I can't remember what it was that turned Weezer into the Smashing Pumpkins for my taste. I think I watched a Rivers Cuomo cover of 1979. If you're a real big Weezer fan, you'll know about the Rivers Cuomo performances where like he's wearing that like the darker like sweatshirt thing. He's got his acoustic guitar and it's from like a lower angle. He's got his real thick rimmed glasses. If you're a Weezer fan and you've seen the performance, you know what I'm talking about. It's where he played a Midnight Cardigan Disaster. Midnight and Cardigan Disaster are the same song. The Billy Cobb version of that song is fucking phenomenal, and I wish he'd release it on Spotify. But yeah, if you listen to Weezer, you know what I'm talking about, right? I think Scott Schreiner joins him for a couple performances, but that 1979 cover, I don't know why or what, because I mean I don't think it's really that particularly great. But, I mean, yeah, just looking at it, that's probably what sparked it. And for me, like going forward, right, I listened to those Sadlands demos a lot on my way to school. And, my love for certain songs, I love all the demos except for, I think it's, yeah, Through the Eyes of Ruby, Pit Mix 3, If You Know, You Know, right? I love pretty much all those recordings, and they're all important. I even like Wishing You Were Real. That one, it's like old school sounding. It's like vintage tape recorder. Analog recording, and it's got that real warbly piano. And I even like that, right? And of course, you hear the early mixes of the one on the piano, the Soundworks demo. And I love all those recordings, but my love for certain Pumpkin songs raises, it ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes Quiet's right for me, sometimes Quiet's not right for me, but I will always admire Quiet for what it is. And oh my god, there was a period a couple years ago where I listened to Quiet like I want to say probably like 15, 16 times a day, right? And that, I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're actively listening to a track and you're not like one of these music drones that like repeat songs while they sleep to get their stream numbers up, man, that is a lot to hear the same song. And I mean, I did that with Title Fight Shed, and I love that album, but like nothing quite evokes the emotions that these Smashing Pumpkins songs invoked in me. And it was such a time of musical reckoning with me. Like that song To Forgive, the Sadlands demo, it spoke to me. It was such a visceral, but like in a good way, reaction from my body, like reacting to this. And I knew it was wrong, but I played along with my birthday song. And I mean, the Sadlands demo carries its own weight. I think really, really, really what did it in for me was Ugly. The the studio version, I like. It's my least favorite of the three or four. Then there's a live version, right? There's a Gravity demo, which the Gravity demo is my favorite Gravity demo, and it's phenomenal. I guilty as charged. I slapped guilty or not guilty. I slapped Gravity demos at the end of one of my Cascade albums in homage to the Smashing Pumpkins. I will not deny that it's not coincidence. I don't think it's I don't believe it to be a trademark term. It is one of my subliminal ways of honoring the Smashing Pumpkins. Because I call my area where I record all my music. I call my room. I call my realm here. I call that this is my pumpkin land. This is my Sadlands. But I didn't want to tack that on because that it just didn't feel right. So I went with Gravity demos because they have their weight to me. But yeah, I mean, I listened to the Gravity demo a lot, and then the Sadlands demo. What really sold me on the Sadlands demo was Ugly was the first one I listened to, and from there it was heroin. I needed to listen to all of the Sadlands demo, like Ascending Guitars. Ascending Guitars is, I want to say, right after Ugly. The 1979 Sadlands demo, the Bullet with Butterfly Wings, the Galapagos. I really like the Galapagos one too. My only problem is there isn't more of them. Like Sadlands demos for like Cupid DeLocke would be crazy. Like that'd be crazy good. I'd love to hear that. And then of course there's just the regular acoustic versions like Through the Eyes of Ruby, and then there's the alternative versions like the Here Is No Why. Here Is No Why has the Pumpkin Land version on the deluxe of Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness that I really like. I really like the tone. I really like how it sounds. It just doesn't have the be forever blue. Doesn't have that little guitar riff after that, but I really like. I will never praise Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness's mixing, or really the track list. Had I not discovered the deluxe edition, I probably wouldn't hail it as my favorite album of all time. But I mean, looking at it, you see all these amazing B-sides. Like the Smashing Pumpkins have my favorite B-sides of any band. Radiohead second place. Polyethylene. Shout out to that song. Parts 1 and 2 are fucking great. India Rubber is a good one too. And sorry, I'm just drinking my Pepsi here. But like, man, you like listen to songs like Cherry and The Boy and The Last Song and God and Transformer and The Aeroplane Flies High, Turns Left, Looks Right. Nothing against Lily or Beautiful or Tales of a Scorched Earth, but holy shit, some of those songs would have made a way better fit and a way more artistic fit onto Mellon Collie Infinite Sadness. But for me, it's the era. The Airplane Flies High isn't really a separate album. I think of it as one unit. It's kind of like how I think about Pisces Iscariot and Siamese Dream. Sorry, I let out my inner Billy Corgan there. Siamese Dream. At the wrist. Dude, pointing to your wrist. Geek USA live performances go crazy. Silverfuck, holy shit. Some of those Silverfuck live performances are long as hell. My wrist would get tired after like 10, right? That's so clippable. That's such a clippable thing to say. My wrist would get tired after 10 minutes. That's crazy. Yeah. No, it's like Pisces Iscariot and Siamese Dream kind of have the same dynamic, but man, those two pale in comparison to like the musical just fucking pure effort that The Airplane Flies High and Mellon Collie represent together. It's actually insane what the dynamic is there. And holy shit, the deluxe editions really just wrap it together. It just fucking puts the final bit of whip topping on the fucking great marble cake that is the Smashing Pumpkins discography. That's their magnum opus, and it is a magnum opus of double albums, and it is a standard for quality among the 90s rock scene. Nirvana really never had that stripped down capability. Like, of course, Kurt Cobain, you have "And I Love Her," which is a cover, but I mean, you hear that stripped downness, or like Polly was the closest that you know Nirvana ever got to mastering the art of just easing off, stumbling, Cupid de Lock, um, you know, Space Boy. I'll put Disarm in here too. It's the Smashing Pumpkins reeling themselves back from being Shiva or uh you know Cherub Rock or Quiet, and no, it's nothing against those songs, but sometimes what songs need is to be reeled back and to be stripped down to what they are in their essence, right? And this, like Mellon Collie and Infinite Sadness, it has such a broad soundscape. It makes great utility of the music world, and like through instruments and through tunings and through different ideas pulling inspiration, like the droning in the back of By Starlight is that is something that, I mean, you'd see later in something like Machina, where Blue Skies Bring Tears, like you hear that noisiness. I think I'm thinking of the right song. If I'm not thinking of the right song, excuse me, but like just that noise, it comes from shoegaze-esque music, and you got a lot of shoegaze-esque shit in Siamese Dream. Hummer and Rocket both have a lot of shoegaze influence, and just the noisiness of like the tone really is emblematic. Butch Vig, I think Siamese Dream is really overproduced, but I mean, it's also really well produced. But I don't know if it's personal taste, but I think it's a little overproduced. But Butch Vig did a very very good job on Siamese Dream for producing. But yeah, I mean, they used this great broad soundscape without being like too much all the time. Like, I guess the only time I can ever really say I feel overwhelmed is Tales of a Scorched Earth, but holy shit, that song is something. The fucking line, I'm or "You're all whores and I'm a fag" or something like that. Like that's so funny. That makes me chuckle every time I hear it. And Billy Corgan, he just let it out. But I think the idea of Tales of a Scorched Earth was executed way better on XYU. XYU, great song. I think that is like just a pure metal track slapped right there. The riffs, it's ominous. It's got this sort of eerie aura about it. Mary had to go. Well, Mary's got a problem. Mary's not a stupid girl. Like, just, I don't know. To play on a child's like a tale, whatever you want to call that, right? Like, it's so ominous, and it's such a dark entity in and of itself. And I think the contrast to Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness is a beautiful thing as well. I do like Lily, My One and Only, and Beautiful, but I think they contrast a little too much. They go pushing the envelope on, the differentiation. That I think pushing the envelope would have been done better on more serious tracks. And by serious, I mean like just the topics, right? Like, I'm talking about like Set the Rated Jerry, talking about like relationship codependence. That's important. That's symbolic. Or like Pennies, or Cherry, or I still think that The Airplane Flies High, Turns Left, Looks Right would have fared really well upon the album, and it really would have fit. And I think it's a little too dark for Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness. I think you rewrite this song to sound more Siamese Dream esque, you would have had a more successful result fitting it in with like Siamese Dream. On the contrary, though, I think it would have fared better than a song like Beautiful and like yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of really great underappreciated tracks. Like, nothing against James Iha, right? I always say nothing against, right? But I think Take Me Down. I think Take Me Down could have been replaced with something a little more thematic. But Take Me Down's a nice, beautiful song, and I think artistically having James on vocals, or having the band on vocals on like Goodnight or Farewell Goodnight. Sorry, I'm so used to listening to just Goodnight, the early demo version, but Farewell and Goodnight. I think that really just ties the Pumpkins together, right? I'm so I'm so glad that egotistically, right, or not egotistically, but looking at it in retrospect, right? I'm so glad Billy Corgan didn't adopt as a mainstay what Siamese Dream was, right? In terms of his controllingness of the band and him like pretty much being, the fucking puppet master basically. And I say that because that allows songs like Farewell and Goodnight to happen, and allows songs like Take Me Down to exist. And like Siamese Dream is great for what it is, but we already had one Siamese Dream. We didn't need another, right? Siamese Dream is great to appreciate in and of itself, and Siamese Dream is a wonderful, wonderful album. It's full of great riffs. It's full of great soundscapes. It's full of great mixing, which I very much envy, because I think Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness is too quiet, or it just lacks in the mixing department. It lacks the punch. Like, I really hear it sometimes. Like, listening to the Pumpkinland demo of Here's No Why, I wish songs would have taken it would have taken a greater approach to mixing, like the Pumpkins Land demo of that, because you hear everything, but I mean, it's well mixed, but not well enough for the album that for the mixing that it could have been. I don't want to say the album it could have been, because all things can be better, right? Perfection is few and far between, which is okay, right? I have albums I consider to be perfect, but I mean, realistically thinking, yeah, but that's all arbitrary. Like Title Fight, Shed, you could argue that. I really actually do wish some of the songs on that album were longer. I wish Society was a full-fledged, like, 3-minute song, like, Where Am I? Right. So there are always things you can change. But, I mean, that, the set list, or the track listing, I wish, they would have traded this song for that song, or, like, Said Sadly, Believe, Cherry, insert the blanks, right? Or something like that, but it is a fucking mainstay of an album. And moving on from the music, like the music itself, or no. Let me dwell for a bit. Start off, the song Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness really sets the tone, right? Really sets the tone. It's just a nice piano track with it's got the one thing that Siamese Dream had that, wasn't really present in Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness. It had the synth, like you hear the synth strings on like Space Boy and Disarm. However, like sonically thinking, like I think that's a good transition. And I think that just choosing to start the album off like that is a perfect precedent. It's a really artistic start. And I think Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness is a song. I think it's in my top 15 Smashing Pumpkins songs because I listen to it. And I mean a lot of that way. I'm that way with a lot of the, instrumental tracks like Dizzle. Dizzle was my number one song one of the years. I think it was 2021, and whew, man, that's just crazy to think about, right? So then you get just right into tonight, and wow, tonight is just this wonderful. It's just this wonderful composition. It's a beautiful song. It stands for beautiful things, and it's a great song. And then everything really ramps up with Jelly Belly and Zero, and it kips up for a bit there, and then it dies down at the end of the first half, and then it picks right back up after. It picks right up after Take Me Down. I think it's either. I want to say I know Bodies and A Node to No One are near each other, but I don't remember which one comes first, but that's really just into it. And I mean, it does serve as a double album. It's like a double feature or I think that's what they're called, double features, where Death Proof, right? You know how Death Proof is two halves of a whole unit, right? And so, right, like it compares and contrasts with itself. Some may see it as whiplash at times, but I mean, the slower songs can have heaviness, like Love. The song Love has that. The slower songs can be soft, like Stumbling. The heavy songs can be, slower or I already said that. But the quicker songs can be, soft, like, you know, Tonight, for a perfect example. I would never call Tonight like it is a more downbeat, a slower, or not slower, a softer song, excuse me. But it is not like a slow track by any means. But then you've got like a song like Jelly Belly, where it's holy shit, like all at you all at once. And those comparisons and contrasts are really important, I think, to make a double album everything it can be. Speaking of it, I think Farewell and Goodnight is a perfect end. There's what is on the deluxe or what is on the vinyl Infinite Sadness. I love Infinite Sadness. I think it compares really well with the title track. Melancholy, Infinite Sadness, and then Infinite Sadness near the end. They really play off each other really well, and the synth strings make a return. I think it sounds really really great and beautiful put together. I do like the vinyl set list or track order more than I like the CD. But I mean it's very minimal difference, right? And then there's a Tonight Reprise. I've never been a big Tonight Reprise guy, but I see how it fits in with the album. It's very artistic. I think everything is really tied well together in the vinyl version. And with this deluxe version, something must be said about all the artwork. John Craig's beautiful art, the squirrel with the bong, the two girls, and I think one of them is holding a lamb. The arguing couple birds in the plane, and then rabbit baseball, right? It's all really esoteric, but it's all really esoteric, but it's got its own beauty, and I admire that artwork so much. I don't know if I said this earlier, this was an earlier take, but Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness is my favorite. Like, that deluxe edition is my favorite piece of art ever, and that, of course the painting, Ivan the Terrible and his son Ivan, is my favorite, like, designated painting. But, as for Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness, it's just my favorite piece of art ever. I love looking at it. I have seen it countless times. It's my profile picture on a lot of things, and every time I see it, like I just have to, what's the word, ogle? I have to ogle at it just a little bit, and I see everything, all the little planets, the Mellon Collie girl, the little the Buddha thing up there, and the surfing cat with the cherub, with the cherubs leading the way, and then Saturn being handed, and then all the all of those things, they all come together really well, and it's a really beautiful album. And to wrap this up, right? Because I don't want to take forever. To see all this move together and really like create a cohesive unit, it it inspired me so much, and it's my most admired. It's a piece of art. Mellon Collie is a piece of art with poetic lyrics and great riffs and great instrumentation, and all coming together all at once, where everything is uniform to be one all at once. Everything comes together, and it's beautiful and it's inspiring. And I admire Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness for what it is. And it'll probably forever be my favorite album of all time. It is a piece of artwork, and it's beautiful. So I'm so happy to have discovered this album. Thank you to my father. Thank you to Panic at the Disco for encouraging me to hop on the Smashing Pumpkins train. And yeah, the Smashing Pumpkins, they inspire me. And Billy Corgan is one of the greatest influences I could ever ask for. And I'm so glad I have Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness as a reference to my own artistic whims and wishes. So, that's going to do it for episode number 2. All I had to say. Thank you so very much, everybody who listened. And this is Mellon Collie and the Infinite Cascade, dippin' and slippin'. I don't know what I'm going to record my next video about, actually. Probably about something stupid like literature or whatnot. No one likes reading. I might talk about games or something, yeah. Still not recording that Left 4 Dead video, by the way. Yeah, that probably might not even happen, but I guess we'll see, right? Peace. Take care, everybody. Give love.